Welcome to Inspiring Women in Audit, the only podcast celebrating the achievements and journeys of women in the internal audit industry. In each episode, we spotlight the extraordinary stories, insights, and expertise of these dynamic professionals. Our aim is to amplify their voices, inspiring a new generation of women auditors to share their knowledge, experiences, and unique perspectives. Remember to check our show notes for links to our social media channels and to subscribe to the Inspiring Women in Audit newsletter. This podcast is brought to you by I4 Global Results Limited, the audit communication experts, dedicated to transforming your audit reporting and your audit results through communication, optimization, and collaboration. Now, let's dive into this episode of Inspiring Women in Audit.
Welcome, everyone, to Inspiring Women in Audit, a podcast that is dedicated to empowering and uplifting women within the internal audit industry. By amplifying their voices, we aim to encourage women in the audit profession to share their knowledge, experiences, and unique perspectives. I'm your host, Tracy Marquardt, and I'm excited today because my guest is Ruth Doreen Mutebe. Ruth Doreen is the Chief Internal Auditor at Umeme Limited, Uganda's largest power distributor, where she leads the internal audit function. With over 2 decades of experience across industries like insurance, banking, and energy, Ruth's expertise spans internal audit, risk management, financial services, leadership development, and so many more. Ruth Doreen is a certified public accountant, a certified internal auditor, and holds a master's degree in information security. She's completed leadership training with Women's World Banking, which I'm hoping to find out more about as we progress in our conversation, and recently achieved her goal of becoming a certified chartered director through the UK's Institute of Directors. This is also something I want to find out about. Her dedication to advancing the internal audit profession is reflected in her extensive volunteer work. She currently serves as chairperson of the board for Ugafode Microfinance Limited, is the chairperson of AFIIA, which is, of course, the African Federation of Institutes of Internal Audit. And Ruth also contributes to the IIA Global as a member of the Committee of Research and Education. So there's so much more, Ruth Doreen, that I could go into. You are so qualified and you have such a rich history. But I think I'll leave it at that for now and start our conversation so our listeners can see exactly why I invited you, because I think they're going to find you just as inspiring as I do. So Ruth Doreen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Tracy, and I am glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me to
Absolutely.
be part of the conversations today, and I look forward to the discussions that we're going to be having.
Thank you.
Thank
And I'm super happy to have you here. We had a pre-conversation and I felt like we could have just kept talking. So we had to cut it off and say, okay, we need to actually get this recorded, get it on a podcast. So I want to start with kind of your career and how you got started, because you've had such an impressive career spanning so many different areas, like the audit, external audit, banking, insurance. Now you're leading internal audits at Uganda's largest power distributor. I mean, that's a big deal. So I'd like to go back to the beginning, though, if I can, and ask you what drew you to internal audit initially and what keeps you passionate about it today.
So thank you, Tracy, for asking. It's an interesting background that I have of how I got into internal audit. And I should say it is curiosity that led me into internal audit. There are industries that I always wanted to work in for different reasons, and very funny reasons at that. I always wanted to work with financial institutions, and guess what? It was just because of the glass that we have between the teller and the customer, and I always wanted to understand what happens behind the glass, where there is a staff only. And then I always wanted to work with the insurance industry to understand the underwriting principle. And I wanted to understand, how do I contribute $1,000? And when I get a problem, you give me $10,000. And I also wanted to work with the airline industry just to understand the aircraft, how it works, and the way it operates. So as part of my career journey, I started off after my university. I started off in a training institution. It was an accountancy training institution. That's where I got the the inspiration to do a certification in public accountancy. And right from there, I joined an external audit firm. And while at the external audit firm, where I grew through the ranks quite pretty fast, I should say, I got an opportunity to work in the insurance company. I was headhunted as the head of finance, and it was very exciting at such an early or young age. And I took on the opportunity. And while at the insurance company, I learned of an opportunity in internal audit in the financial services sector. And now, if you play back and understand and you recall the kind of curiosity I had around financial institutions, I was like, yes, this is the opportunity for me to actually understand what happens behind that glass, where they say staff only. And I joined I joined the bank and the internal audit department at a basic entry level. And I remember at the interview, I was asked, why did you apply for this role? You're super qualified. And I told them I want to work with a financial institution. This is the opportunity that has presented itself, and I am ready to do it. So I joined as an internal auditor, and I ran through, I grew through the ranks until I became the head of department. So that's how I get into internal audit. And from the time that I got into internal audit, I think I have not stopped. And the future still has a lot of internal audit in it. It's a passion because I love making things better. I like contributing to success. And internal audit is that profession that allows you or that gives you an opportunity to walk a journey with somebody else or with another organization to help them achieve their dreams, help them achieve their strategic aspirations. So every time I do that and I see the results come through, I see improvements in organizations, that keeps me going. And somehow I have also continued that in my day-to-day life through mentorship. So that's how
We'll
I
talk
got into
about,
audit, and that's what keeps me there.
I mean, that's amazing. We'll talk about mentorship in a minute because I just think there's so many golden nuggets that you just talked about. I love the first examples because when you first hear, I got into banking because I wanted to go behind the glass. I mean, it's such a unique perspective. And that you wanted to understand insurance because you could pay your premium but get back so much more, I guess. In the end,
Yes.
the 1,000 versus the 10,000. So and you wanted to know how playing works. I mean, this is real curiosity, and it's such a great skill for internal auditors to have. So for you to have noticed that about yourself at such a young age, and then been able to just like channel your career, I mean, is amazing. And I love that you started internal audit just at the junior level, even though you had been the head of finance, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Maybe I was born an internal auditor.
Uh, I I would suggest that would be something definitely possible. So I do like that. I do like the fact that you're willing. You know, it speaks to me on some level that you're willing to just start at the bottom. You're like, no, I want to know, I want experience, I want to get involved, and you rose right to the head of the department. So fascinating career journey, and uh, lots of nuggets. I love how you want to walk the journey, even the strategic journey with someone to help them meet their goals and things. I mean, how do you find that's received by the business? Do they
So,
also, do they also see that possibility and opportunity?
yes, it is very fulfilling for me, and I should say for the organization that I was working with, that financial institution that I was working with, recognized my passion, my energy, and from the time that I joined, usually probation is 6 months. My probation was 4 months, and I was promoted. And after every 6 months, I was going through some kind of promotion or confirmation in one role and promotion to another until I came to the level of the head of function. And by the time I left the bank, I was on the succession plan for executive director. Now, executive director is the number 2 role after the CEO. So for me, that is a demonstration that the institution that I was working with recognized the potential and the passion and the contribution that I was making to the bank.
Because I was going to ask you, like, it's kind of putting you on the spot to say, what are the characteristics that you have that people like me go, wow, I wish I was a little bit more like that. Because you've leapt ahead. It takes me back to my school days when somebody's like, they skip a grade and they go, instead of they skip grade 4 and go to grade 5 right from grade 3. Like there's definite qualities that someone has. So far I've got, curiosity and contribution and passion. Is there anything else that you think you could share with us? Like, what is it inside you? I don't know if you can put your finger on that.
Well, what I can say is when I joined that financial institution, Finance Trust Bank, there was, should I call it a policy or a practice? If somebody is growing into a managerial role, they put you on a leadership program for you to learn a little more about what the role entails, and they prepare you for success, not to prepare you to fail. So I was privileged to be one of those that was put on the leadership program that was funded by Women's World Banking, because Finance Trust Bank is a member of the Women's World Banking family. And this was a very eye-opening and inspiring program for me. It had 3 stages, and the first stage we were taken to Jordan, and there were a number of ladies from different countries. And if I look back, the whole objective of that session, which was a 5-day session, was for us to just explore and understand who we are, to understand our personalities, how we interact with other people, and to just look deep into ourselves and try to find out what is it that I want to do with my life. And they requested us, I remember in one of the sessions, to say, what do you want to do in life? Or what do you want to achieve in life? And I remember the facilitator for the day saying to us, just imagine. They actually told us to close our eyes and just imagine that there is no constraint. There is no constraint in time. There is no constraint in resources, and you have everything available to you. What would you want your life to be like? And what would you want to be doing on a day-to-day basis? So we're given a few minutes to think through that. And the next day we're requested to do a painting of what that would look like. So what I wanted to be doing at that time is being in charge of myself. After there is no constraint anyway. So I wanted to be in charge of myself. I saw myself as somebody who is contributing to other people's lives, making their lives better. And then I thought to myself, well, what is it that I have that I can give somebody else out there? And I was like, okay, I'm a trained accountant. I have financial background. I have audit experience, but I also have a passion for people. That is one thing that came through. And I thought to myself, how about if I take what I have, because I believe we can do so much with what we have, where we are at the time that we have access and ability to do that. So I thought to myself, if I use my technical skills and I use my emotional intelligence or social intelligence, and I also put that together with my public speaking abilities, probably I can make somebody else's life better. And that's where I came from to craft my purpose in life, to use my technical skills, emotional and social intelligence, and public speaking abilities to create independence and freedom in mind to somebody else in my society. And the independence that I was talking about is using my technical skills. I'm looking at financial independence. I may not have all the money in the world to give everybody, but I know something about managing finances. I know something about financial planning and financial forecasts and how you can best use the resources that you have, however little. So I thought if somebody has a bit of that, they can manage their finances, or if I am able to give $1 here or there, I can still do that. But better still, I also thought if somebody has peace of mind, which I call emotional or psychological independence. If you have freedom of mind, if you have peace of mind, there is nothing that can stand in your way because you have the will and you believe in yourself, and there is so much that somebody can do. And then I thought to myself, okay, who is it that I am going to be impacting? And I told myself, it is my house, it is my home, it is people in my community, it is my country, it is my continent, it is everywhere. So that's where I came from to say, I have to make this impact to people in my society. And that society for me is the entire globe. There is no limit to that.
That's amazing. I know I've used that word already in our conversation. I'm just struck by how, number one, how well spoken you are and how much clarity you have in terms of what you would like your contribution to be. So can I ask you to read your purpose statement out just one more time? Can you tell us all what your purpose statement is? It's very inspiring.
All right. Thank you so much. And thanks for the compliment. And that's actually what drives my planning. Every year, I just keep thinking, what is it that I'm going to do in line with my purpose? So just read it again, like you have requested. It is to use my technical skills, emotional/social intelligence, and public speaking abilities to create financial, emotional, and psychological independence to people in my society.
That's fantastic. It's brilliant. And may I ask how old were you when you went through this program and derived this?
I may not remember the exact number, but I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in
Love
my
it.
20s.
I love it. And I can just imagine the contribution that you're making to your community. I mean, we're going to get to the volunteer things that you do, but even just in terms of your community, I think it must be extraordinary. So brilliant stuff. But I also know that, through this World Banking, Women's World Banking, you did learn a lot from this program, and you said there were multi steps in the program, because when we talked before, we were talking about your career planning, and I was very, very impressed with your career planning, because what some of us do is we're just like, okay, I'm ready to leave this job. Let me go look for another job. And we look, at what job openings there are. And then when there aren't a lot, then we talk to, we do the referral thing. We reach out to our network and say, what jobs are available, these kinds of things. But you look at it totally different. It's like, I feel like for you, it's a big board, and you're moving chess pieces on to say, where do I want to be? Can you tell us a bit about your career planning and how you you radiate this smile. So how have you created this career for yourself where you go where you want to go? Like, how did that happen?
Well, I should say that it all started from the journey that I told you about. That was the first part that we had in Jordan. Maybe just to complete the story. The second part happened in Philadelphia. At the university, we also had a week there. Again, lots of insight and self-discovery. And the third part was again 5 days in London. And then we were attached to mentors. I was given a mentor who walked the journey with me for 6 months.
Okay.
So one thing that I have learned along my journey is opportunity meets the prepared. But opportunity is on a sale. And I have gone through certain instances where the opportunity is right in front of me, but then I am not able to take advantage of it just because I was not prepared. So that has preempted me to prepare early. So if there's something that I would like to achieve in 2 years' time, then the preparation has to start now. I want to become a CEO one day, but what does it take for a CEO to be? And then I start preparing myself now. I do a gap analysis way ahead of time, and then I'll start preparing. But I think about a year or two ago, I was on a flight. It was a long flight, and I usually like using the time on those long flights to reflect. So I just down and thought to myself, and I'm like, okay, what's the retirement age back home? And I'm like, okay, it's 60. Don't ask me my age.
I won't.
So
I
I was
promise.
like, okay, retirement age is 60 years. What age am I now? And how much time do I have left in between there? And there are all these things that I would like to do within that period of time. So then I thought to myself, so then within that remaining time of active service, what is it that I want to do in line with my purpose in life? And then I thought about those, and from that time, well, I already had my purpose, but then I was looking at time ticking and opportunities may come and sail. So then what do I have to do between now and then for me to contribute to society and for me to do the things that I need to do? And also for me to grow my career. I want to see myself as a leader on the international scene one time in my lifetime. So if I want to do that, then I need to prepare myself. I know you mentioned that at a certain stage you'll be talking about mentoring, but I've done a significant piece of work in the governance space. And I thought to myself, okay, why don't I make myself credible in such an in using the experience that I have already gathered out of volunteering in different board roles and interacting with very senior people that I have learned from. And they were very kind enough to teach me what they already know. So then I thought to myself, if I go for the Chartered Director course, that will blend very well with the experience that I have already gathered. I looked at it as a quick win. So I walked the journey through the Institute of Directors, and my employer was very kind to do the funding for me. I went through the certificate course. I did 4 exams and passed them. Last
Congratulations.
year, around March, I went through the diploma exam and I passed with a distinction. And just last week on Thursday is when I sat for the interview for chartered directorship. And when the email came through, I was like, yes, I have this in the bag as well. And I have that. So I look at the quick wins that I can have. So that was one of them. And then
Can I interrupt you there and just to ask you, why do you want that in your tool bag to go to the next level? Tell us how that certification will help you.
Okay, so I have done board roles. And definitely, if somebody asked me what the role requires or what it entails, I know. But usually, if you have certification, if you're chartered, chartered by a credible institution, then it gives everybody else out there the confidence that it is not only about what she's talking about. It is not only about us getting a testimony from her references or the people that she has worked with, but there is a certification that she has to demonstrate that Ruth Doreen is a credible and chartered director.
Nice. Okay. So now you have that. How does that fit into the plan now for between now and retirement?
Okay, so I have the chartered directorship. I think I'm progressing very well on the governance side. Now, when it comes to the executive management role, if you look at my career, I have done a stint in finance. I have done lots of work in external audit, and I have done lots of work in internal audit, taxation, and consultancy. And I know what executive management is all about, because as an internal auditor, you work with virtually everybody across the organization. So I know what happens in the different departments on the operational side. But like I said, using the example of a chartered director, as long as you have not been part of that role, then there may be a misconception that you cannot do the role because you've not done it on a day-to-day basis. So that's the gap that I am looking to close. And I am thinking of a role that will give me multifunctional or multi-disciplinary supervisory role, where I am able to work directly and supervise a number of departments. And then I take the learning from such a role to the next one, which will be probably a CEO role. And I will be good to go, because then I have balanced my executive management experience and complemented it with the expertise that I have in governance. So it's just that demonstration and proving to somebody else that, yes, much as I have the knowledge, I have also practiced it. So those are some of the things that I have that I'm working on in my career journey between now and retirement.
I think there are super lessons in there for those of us who tend to fly by the seat of our pants and, in my case, build the parachute after I've jumped off the cliff. When I started my business, must be 12 years ago now. So I didn't have that kind of plan. I just knew what I loved and what I wanted to share with the world, and had no idea that it would bring me here today to sit with, amazing women like you and find out more about their journey. So I love that you I guess you have the foresight to say, what do I need to do? I know where I want to be. Do that gap analysis. I call it a needs analysis, whatever it is. Do that gap analysis of where you are today and where you want to be in the next 2 steps you have planned, it sounds like. So I'm hoping there are, folks that are listening, women or men who are listening to the podcast, who think, I can do that. I can create my own future. First, you have to envision your future, and then do the gap analysis, and then take the action, right? Because it's okay to have a dream, but do you write it down? Do you have a vision board? Do you have something that you have that's tactile?
Oh, yes, I do that a lot. At the beginning of each year, I have at least 5 things that I want to achieve, of course, drawing from my purpose in life. And then I break that down into the little steps that I can take on a monthly basis. And again, I break that down into a weekly basis. So every Friday, I plan for the next week. Of course, at the beginning of the year, there are dates that I will mark in my calendar. But on Friday every week, I'll just look back and say, okay, what is it that I wanted to achieve this month? How much of it have I been able to do? What are the baby steps that I can take on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah.
And then usually half year, I do a self-evaluation. So I audit myself as well. I do a self-evaluation to say, what is it that I wanted to achieve? What is it that I've been able to achieve? And what can I do in the remaining 6 months? And what I feel I'm not able to do, I accept. And so, well, I can do better next time and probably push it forward or rethink the strategy and initiative that I'm going to implement going forward.
Love the discipline. I love the discipline. It's there's a longtime friend of mine who says daily habits make the difference. And you've got your plan and you look at it weekly. You've set it for the year, and then you break down by month. You look at it weekly. I love it. I love it. I think there's so many of us that could do even more if we look at our lives that way and set that purpose statement. So thank you for being that open with all of us and sharing that. I really do appreciate it because I just find it very inspiring. So there you go.
Thank you
It's
very much.
wonderful. And I wish you
Okay.
success on that. And I can't wait to find out where you go in the future. So coming from all of that inspirational, visionary planning for yourself, I want to come back into the topic of mentoring. You were mentored in the Women's World Banking program. And now I feel like you're probably a mentor today to others. And I'm wondering if you can talk to us about um, um, what mentoring did for you and how you help other people in in mentoring.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Tracy. I am a product of mentoring. Right from the first role that I did, I remember working with a director of studies who was always very kind to take me through the different steps to the level where I became a leader and I was given a training center to manage. In the external audit firm, I also worked with a very kind but firm boss who was very patient with me and taught me a number of things, some of which I still use today in my leadership journey. And again, from my volunteering work, I have already mentioned I worked with a number of people. And probably what I didn't say is virtually for all my executive roles and also my board roles, I have always been the youngest on the table. So I used to be a little bit smaller, smaller than I am now. So there was always this little girl who was raising her hand to say, yes, I can do this. I think I can contribute here. And I got the opportunity to learn from very senior leaders in organizations. And because there are people who have been patient with me, and that also includes my parents who have mentored me along the journey. And I remember when I was growing up, my parents saying, you can do everything as long as you commit yourself to it and you remain disciplined. You will be able to do whatever you plan to do. And of course, as long as you do it prayerfully, then everything should be good to go. So I am virtually a product of mentorship. And I always thought if I do the same for others, then they should be able to succeed. And for everyone that I mentor and I succeed, I tell them you can do virtually far more better than what I am. If I have done twice, you should be able to do 4, 5 times better than I am. Because you're learning from a point of experience from another person and you have a lot of potential within you. It depends on what we're listening to from within ourselves. Are we listening to the voice that, yes, I have the ability, I can do this? There are challenges, yes, but those challenges are only solved by people. And if I am the person, or if you are the person in that position, then you have the ability to walk through or go over any challenges or hurdles. And of course, we don't walk these journeys alone. We work with people. If everybody brings a piece of their best self, then collectively we should be able to make the world a better place.
And you're passing that along to everybody you work with every day, those that you mentor directly. I think those are beautiful messages. If I can for a moment, can I come back to that young girl you mentioned who put her hand up in that board meeting and said, I can help with that, or I can contribute to that? For some of us, that would require a great deal of courage. Can you speak to courage in those kind of environments?
Oh, yes. I think as long as you know what I always knew what I wanted to do. And as long as my mind and my heart reconciled, and I knew I'm on the right track and I'm doing the right thing, I hung in there. And guess what? For some of those boardrooms, I was probably the only lady in the boardroom, or better still, we're about 2 or 3. But for me, it's all about what do you bring into the conversation and what are you willing to learn out of the conversation. So what you bring helps somebody else to learn, but you're also learning collectively from all the other people. And I always say to the people that I work with that, and I picked this lesson from one of my mentors, now through the Boardroom Africa. When I was doing the certificate course for the IOD, it was in collaboration with the Boardroom Africa. And at that stage, we were given mentors. And there's this one very kind lady, Beatrice, who said to me, when you're working with people, they come to you as a complete package. And yes, there are deliverables you want them to achieve. There are things you want them to accomplish. But remember, a human being is a complete person. And a human being is not a switch that you turn on and turn off. If they are okay, and I think that speaks back to my peace of mind. If somebody is okay, if they are comfortable, then they will be able to deliver what you're telling them to deliver. If someone has a challenge and you make that burden, or you make their challenge, or you ease the pain a little bit, then they will be able to deliver. So as long as we understand that when we are dealing with other people, we are dealing with a complete package. You're not just dealing with, if I am working with Tracy, I am not just working with the role, but I am working with a person. I am working with a human being. And respecting each other and being able to listen, then when that happens, then we relate better. And all of us will be able to collectively bring a lot to the table, and we will all succeed.
So with that in mind, being the Inspiring Women in Audit podcast, how can we help women in audit kind of recognize and create their own opportunities rather than waiting for them to appear?
I think it starts with what you want to do with yourself. If you know your purpose and where you want to make contribution, and you want to live life and not just pass through life, there are certain things we need to be deliberate about. And it doesn't have to be so many things. It can be one thing, maybe one thing a year, one thing a month, one thing a quarter. What is it? Where do you want to make a difference? I usually do that for my employer. I'll just think and say, what innovation or initiative am I bringing to the team, to the department, to the organization this year? And then I look through either the pain points, the strategic aspirations, what initiatives do we have? And then I say, okay, where can internal audit play and make a good contribution? For my own organization, we have different performance parameters. And one of them, I'll give you an example, is managing losses. Technical losses, either because the line is not working efficiently or because somebody just doesn't want to pay for power. And they decide I'm going to use power for free and they are hooking. Ideally, that would be an engineer's role. And as an internal auditor, I would imagine and say, well, let the engineers go and fix that. I'll come and check. If they are doing the right thing, well and good. If they're not doing the right thing, then I'll come and make a report. But because I want to be impactful, what I suggested to my team is, how about if we put on helmets? How about if we wear those hand gloves? How about if we wear the safety boots and we go and join the teams? So as we are auditing, we are working with them. Now, having an engineer or having a technical officer working side by side with the chief internal auditor, a senior manager at that, and you all doing the hands-on, you cannot imagine the amount of motivation that that will bring. And then at the end of the day, when we are having conversations, to say, but hang on a minute, engineer, I expected that probably this meter should be positioned here. or I expected that this is what I'm going to say, but I'm seeing something different. It then becomes a conversation, and you bring a different kind of initiative, a different kind of environment, a different kind of energy in the team that you're working. Now, I am not saying that everybody does that, but look within your space and see what is that initiative that is going to make internal audit interesting without compromising our code of ethics and the way that we work, and not overstepping to go into the responsibility of the first line role and second line role. But the message I am putting across is each one of us can make life more interesting for ourselves and for everybody else out there. So if we try to just reflect and understand what is it that I want to do with myself. For me, I'm speaking about that because that ties in with my purpose. But probably somebody has a different purpose in life, and their initiatives and approaches are going to be totally different. But the most important thing is something has to be done. Each one of us needs to do something to make life better and to make the world a better place to live in.
What comes, what bubbles up for me is reflection. So I think, I know from my own personal experience, it would take, like, you had 5 days in Jordan in that program, and then you were able to imagine it and create a painting, which I would love to see one day. But it's like you have to carve out a little bit of space and time for yourself to reflect on what you want for yourself, for your family, for your career, for your community. Some people don't want to go beyond that, and I think that's absolutely fine. I mean, we all have the space in which we feel comfortable operating, or the space in which we feel we have the time, energy, finances, whatever it is to give to help create something for other people. But I think it just rings really true for me. I think as women, we're always creating something for others.
Yeah, and we have a lot of potential
on every level, and maybe some of us don't focus enough on what we want to create outside, like, and for ourselves. And that's something that with a little focus, some women might go, yeah, that's actually what I want to do. I want to step beyond where I am now, and I want to plan it a little bit and maybe think 2 steps ahead like you do, because I think that's brilliant. I think that's such a good story, such a good experience for everyone to hear from you, because it sets a wonderful example. And not everyone might be in the position to do that right now, but they can have a vision of, listen, I want to get myself into a position where I create the space and make the plan. I think not just 1 step ahead, but I think 2 steps ahead. Where do I want to be? And for those of us who are aging, we can think about, what is
just a number.
It is just a number. It is just a number. My mother tells me to stop dressing like I'm 17. So there you go. But it's think about what you want for the next piece, because what piece of your life, of your career, because what I would love for all of us is to just not just survive, because sometimes it is about survival, and that's a tough way to be, but not about survival, about thriving and then serving. And not everybody will get to that space, and not everybody has to get to that space. That's fair enough, So I think that's great advice, and I love that you've shared all that with us. So coming back to, you mentioned a leadership lesson that you had. Are there another 1 or 2 leadership lessons that you learned along the way that would give our audience something to reflect on and to learn from?
Yes, a number of lessons, but I'll just pick out probably 2 or 3. And one that stands out and is powerful for me is being a leader is an opportunity. It's an opportunity and not an entitlement. And it is an opportunity to inspire others. It is an opportunity to support everybody else that we are working with. It is an opportunity, most importantly, to bring out the best out of the people that we are working with. Encouraging somebody else to do better. Encouraging them and finding the strengths that they have I have worked with some people, and sometimes they don't see the potential that I am seeing. And there's one that I kept challenging, and I said, you know what? Where we are at now, I think you have ceased being managerial material. You're a head of function material, and we need to start working towards that. And we went into a discussion of saying, well, what is it that you need to do between now and the next stage? And we thought about where the gaps are. We came up with initiatives, and this was my number 2 actually at Umeme, where I'm working now. And for about 2 years, I kept telling her, you know what, I believe you can do better and you have a lot of potential. And as part of this transition, guess what? She's now a head of function. She's a head of audit within the energy sector. So I think leadership is much more fulfilling when you use it as a privilege and remain human. Because at the end of the day, we have the titles Chief Internal Auditor, CEO, board chair, and all that. But that doesn't change who we are. And it doesn't change humanity and the way that we relate with each other and support each other. The second lesson that I have picked out of leadership is there are so many things that crowd leadership, but at the end of the day, there is a job that needs to be done. And it is for that that we have either been entrusted with responsibility, we have been voted into positions, we have been appointed into positions. There is a job that needs to be done. So at the end of the day, irrespective of the circumstances, it is important that we do that job and do it pretty well and deliver. Speaking to my fellow ladies, I'll even say it twice, to say even when you are in a position as a lady, there is a job to deliver. So we need to be very deliberate about what is the output that is expected of me? What is the outcome that is expected of me? Challenges will always be there, but we need to go past them. We need to solve those challenges. That's why we're in those roles and deliver. Once you deliver, all these other things we can add on and make everybody's life much better. The third lesson that I have learned is to deal fairly with people, deal fairly with stakeholders, respect each other, and build meaningful relationships. Today, I could be in a position of leadership, and I am working with people that are still growing in the career. But the one thing they are going to remember is how I related with them. They are going to remember how I impacted on them. The paycheck they'll find in whichever role they go to. All those benefits they'll find in whichever role they will go to. But the one thing they'll remember is how we related. What did they learn from me? How did we relate with each other? And that also extends to the stakeholders. The other related bit is I am a leader today, but I may not be a leader in that space tomorrow. And the person who is junior to me now is going to be the next leader. So what kind of relationships and what kind of network am I building around myself and around society? Because the person who is my number 2, my number 3 tomorrow is going to be the number 1, probably even the number 1 in a country. So then, being mindful and knowing that being in a position of leadership is not an entitlement. It's not an opportunity to boss around and to treat people unfairly. And when we're in positions of leadership, what I can say is the life that we are leading at that point is a public show. We're actually living life on a public stage. So everything we are doing, the world is watching. Everything we are saying, the world is watching. So walking that talk is much better than lip service and being human at the end of the day. Life is there to be lived and to be enjoyed. Thank you.
Wow. I mean, there's so many keywords that pop up from that. So if I just reflect back on our conversation so far, I'm hearing patience and determination and self-awareness and reflection and that leadership really is an opportunity, and it's an opportunity to inspire and uplift others. There's a responsibility there, and it's also about relationships, and dare I say it, communication. Because to achieve what you have achieved and to be skipping ahead in some places or going at a faster pace than some others might in their career, I'm thinking excellent communication skills must be at the forefront for you. Sharing your perspective of how leadership is opportunity and how you can support and create and help others create for themselves, and that you already see that your deputy or the second or third in under you is going to be the leader of tomorrow, I think is a great vision to have and to help them get to that next level, because you can make a difference with them. So given all of that, you also give a lot of your time to organizations such as the Africa IIA, the IIA Global, Uganda CPA organization, the audit committee of the Ugandan Ministry of Finance. The list goes on. All the while, you've been building this career in leadership and planning your own steps and all of those things. How do you balance everything in life?
That's an interesting one. And I have had that question a number of times. In some of the voluntary roles that I do, I should say referrals. Somebody reaches out to say, oh, we have an opening on the audit committee and we think you can support our organization. So if I still have the time, I will take up the responsibility, because sometimes I don't like committing to things that I'm not going to deliver. But how do I balance out? And I'm looking at balancing probably from a 4-lens perspective, balancing for my day-to-day job for my employer, and then balancing where I'm volunteering, balancing for family, and then balancing for society and community. So one of the things that has been very powerful and helpful for me is how I schedule my time. One thing that I try to avoid is double booking. And if you come to the internal audit department at Umeme, they will talk about a blue book. And they talk about a blue book because that's where I do my scheduling. And before I commit to anything, I would want to check that I don't have any double booking there. The other principle that I have used is, if I am going to do something, I'll give it my best. If I can have at least 90% achieved the first time when I look at it, I concentrate and say, this is what I'm going to focus on. Then that way I am able to work efficiently. So I don't have to do a lot of reworking. Usually if I do a piece of work, it should be good enough for me to let it go. Or if I have to come back to it, I'll just go over it once. And it's out of the way.
So there's an efficiency in that.
Yes, efficiency. The other thing that has helped me is building a support network around myself. So it's interesting, but somehow I have a go-to person in almost different places. If I get a call from home to say, oh, by the way, we don't have bread, we don't have sugar, we don't have soap, we don't have this, I have a contact in my phone that I will call and say, oh, please go to the shop, go to the supermarket, buy 1, 2, 3 things, take them home. I'll see you later. If it is a health issue, I have somebody that I will call to say, guess what? I have this condition, or I have somebody, this is the way they are feeling, this is the way they are behaving, what do we do? I have a go-to person when it comes to even transport. I drive myself, but there are days when I just have so many things that I have to deal with. And the time that I will sit concentrating on the wheel, I will have taken so many other decisions. So I have that contact in my phone that I will call and say, oh, you know what? On such and such a day, please come at such and such a time. I need to do a number of things, sit on the wheel, and I will sit at the back. And while I'm sitting at the back, I'm doing so many other things. And it is interconnected. If I have a patient at home that I need to take care of, I'm still far off, I'll say, please go home, pick this person. Definitely there are controls before you pick anyone from home. But these are people that they now know. So I'll say, go and pick so and so and take them to this medical doctor. So having that support network, and even within my team, I work in such a way that there is one or two people that know what I am working on, and there is nothing that I know alone, unless it is very sensitive and it is very confidential. So I work in such a way that there has to be continuity over and above myself. If it is office and probably there is something that needs to be done and I'm not there, my number 2 and my number 3 should be able to step in exactly the same way that I would do. And I am very deliberate on that. Sometimes I call it throwing them or in the deep end, but it works for both of
them. Yeah.
It
How to
works
set
for
into
both
the
of us.
fire, but the deep end
Yeah,
works
so
too.
then they learn how to swim the first time, the second time there'll be a bit of struggle, but the third time they'll be good to go. The other thing that I do is I prioritize what I'm going to do based on what is more critical and what is more urgent. So when I am organizing my calendar, you'll find probably a day where I'm focusing more on my employer, and that's a priority. And if I have eased and taken out all the urgent things, probably the next day, you'll find me focusing on Afia, or maybe the IIA family. And then once I've dealt with that, then I also look at the other things. And then another day, I will be probably concentrating on something else. When I close the working day, I close. And that is time for home. Sunday, you will not find me touching office work unless it is really, really important. Saturday, now. I'll be focusing on family. So it's more of the scheduling and also being as transparent as possible. I think that is very helpful. If I am going to take a trip because of the voluntary work that I am doing and I have to fly probably to another country, I will walk to my CEO's office, or I will get a phone and call and say, you know what? I have to travel for this period of time. This is what I have to cover within the week. This I will be able to do even when I am traveling. This requires in person. So my team member is going to address that. Even when I am going to take on these responsibilities, I am transparent to the extent that before I took on the role of chairperson of Afia, I went to my CEO and I went to the audit committee of the board and told them there is this opportunity. I have vied, I have got it. This is what it implies. And we had a conversation around it. They asked all the questions that they had to ask. They gave me what their fears were and gave me blessing and a green light to say, we are happy for you to proceed. So that kind of transparency, I think, is what has helped me to balance work and all these other things that I have to do. It doesn't hurt for me to tell. My husband knows my schedule. I think sometimes I may even forget, and is reminding me to say, oh, but you said you're going to travel in 2 days' time. How have you prepared? How have you organized this and that? Where can I be of help? So that transparency, I think, gives a peace of mind, because then you're dealing with what you have to deal with, and you're not constrained and worried about the effects that may come because of a busy schedule of that nature. The last one that I will share is again advanced planning, because I manage my calendar properly. We have this. We are having this conversation today. In my mind, I started preparing for it a few days ago. I get a thought here, a thought there, and then if I have not been able to, the day before I have to sit down, or a few hours before, I'll have to sit down and prepare. So if it is a meeting, same thing. I will walk into a meeting knowing I am going into this meeting with 4 things. 2 contributions, probably 3 questions. And that makes life easier. It makes it seamless and less straining. There are times when you look at my schedule, you may imagine that I don't have time probably to play and laugh and do all that. But I sometimes have lazy days. I call them lazy days. And I'm probably not doing anything. I'm just resting and watching movies. Yeah, but it all comes from scheduling. And the other thing that is important for me is take out the things that are going to bring pressure.
Great
And that
advice.
goes for self-supervision. If I know there is something that is urgent, it will be required. I plan ahead of time and deliver it before I am asked, because I don't want somebody to look for me for deliverables that I know I have to deliver. Yeah, so those are some of the things that some of
I mean,
the initiatives that I use to manage my schedule.
such great advice. And again, what's popping up for me is planning, being prepared. It's that foresight thing that you do where you're anticipating. Your calendar is so important. I think sticking to a calendar, sometimes I have difficulty with that. So sticking to the calendar, I think, is important. Make sure you don't double book. Efficiencies and having, that the go-to people around you. So I see you as like a hub, and you can go off from the hub and get the help
Oh
you
yeah.
need for certain things. And it does take a village. We can't do everything on our own, and we also empower other people when we ask them to step in for us and things like that. So I think there are a ton of great lessons there. I love that you don't that when work is over, work is over. I do think that's a struggle point of mine. So I will try to take
Mhm.
that on board and look at that, because when you work from home and it's your business, it's
Mhm.
sometimes hard to turn it off. But
Yeah, I know. I
but
ran a business
Saturdays,
one time.
yes,
I ran a business one time, but at some point, again, because of double booking and being efficient, at some point I told myself, I think in the mix of all this, I need to first pause this a bit, because it required me to be there in person. And much as I could delegate, it wasn't working out as expected. So I paused it. Sometimes I take lessons where things don't work out, pause them a bit, reflect, and come back later. So I understand entirely when you say you're working from home and it's your own business. I mean,
yeah. So it's good. Like Saturdays, I don't work. Definitely don't touch anything on Saturdays. So some Sundays too, but I love the vision that you have, that you carry out all aspects of your life. I think that's very helpful to those of us who may struggle a little bit in some of those areas. So it's very helpful to for you to hold up the mirror so that we can all see what's happening and then say, well, maybe I could learn a thing or two from that. So um, I
thank
have,
you.
I think I have one more question before the last question. I wanted to ask you about your next step, because I know there's going to be a change there. So maybe first you could tell us where the word comes from, and then you could tell us what that change means for you, because I think the future is wide open and sunshiny. But tell us about it.
All right, thank you so much. So umeme is a Swahili word that means power or lighting. And it's an electricity distribution power company. So umeme comes from that perspective. And yes, my employer is a government concessionaire. The concession runs for 20 years, and the 20 years are ending on the 31st of March, 2025. So that's just a few days from today. And what is going to happen is we will have to hand back the power distribution network over to government. There is opportunity for our staff to move to the government entity. But I just thought to myself, this is an opportunity for me to get out of the comfort zone. I had the opportunity to go and sit for interviews for the same role in the government institution. And I just reflected and told myself, what has my career journey been? I have largely played in the insurance industry. I have been in the banking sector. I have volunteered in public service, professional associations, and probably some government institutions, which is in the public sector. And I was just thinking to myself, what opportunities do I have here? Which sectors haven't I played in? Which industries haven't I interacted with? Could this be an opportunity? Bearing in mind the kind of career journey that I have. Earlier on, we were talking about my plans in the executive management. So I thought to myself, now is the time when I can consider having a regional role. A regional role in internal audit would come easy because, okay, not easy per se, but audit is something that I have done. But I would prefer if I get that role at a regional level. And then thinking about, of course, there was that executive management that we already discussed earlier. And then there are industries that I am thinking about that would be exciting. Again, curiosity is my other name. Curiosity and adventure is my other name. So I'm looking at industries like automotive and aerospace. I am thinking that would be interesting.
Exciting.
To understand. I'm looking at renewable energy. I'm looking at the healthcare sector. Yes, I have done advisories in the health sector, but not on a very active basis. So I'm thinking it could be interesting there as well. I am looking at the investment space. And that's where you have equity investors. That's where you have all sorts of investment. The area of investment and investors. Currently, I am the chair of the staff retirement benefit scheme. I am the chair of the investment committee, and I find it interesting. I also did a certification, and I'm thinking it is one area that can be interesting to explore a little further. Of course, technology is part and parcel of all these spaces. The other one that stands out for me are the development organizations. That's where you have the non-governmental institutions, you have the funders, and all the categories that we have in the development organizations. Those are sectors and industries that I have not actively participated in. So I think starting December, November, December, is when I came up with this thought process. And then I started thinking to myself, who in my network can give me an opening?
I love it.
Sector. I reached out to some friends and colleagues, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that something comes out of that. But because I have been deliberate to get out of the comfort zone, then I need to pursue this actively. And if opportunities come through, I will be happy to take them. If they come in the sectors that I have already been in, and that is what comes along the way, I will take it. But it will be very exciting for me to actually try out new roles and new sectors.
I'm super excited for you. You know, when you talk about your vision, I see just like these opportunities, and these ones go this way and these ones go this way. And so I this vision gets painted in my mind, and I absolutely have full confidence that you're going to get where you want to be. And I can't wait to hear where it is. I really can't, because I hope you come back and I hope you come back and share it, because because I think you're a manifester, right? And so you will manifest this. I'm excited to see what form it takes. So
I am waiting to.
Super. So, last question I have for you. What legacy do you hope to leave in the audit profession, particularly, if I can say this, for the women, the next generation of women in the audit industry?
Um, a couple of things. The legacy that I think I have created and that I would want to leave behind, one is quality. I would call it excellence in everything that I do. For somebody to look at a piece of work and say, surely this was done by Ruth Doreen. And probably they'll look at it and say, we don't think so. Are you talking about the same person that we know? So excellency and quality in everything that I do. The second thing that I want to leave behind me or on my trail of the profession is integrity. I hold my head high, knowing that I am doing the right thing, even when nobody is seeing or when nobody is watching. And that gives me a peace of mind, and it puts my heart at rest. So integrity, and it's no wonder, it's no surprise that it is one of the core values that internal audit upholds. The other bit that I want to be remembered for is positive influence. Giving the comfort, giving the courage to somebody else out there to say it's still possible, irrespective of the circumstances. Irrespective of the constraints that we may have, there is still something positive that can come out of everybody. And encouraging somebody else, influencing somebody else, impacting somebody else's life to become happier and more fulfilled. If I cannot probably do that, make the burden lighter, make the pain point lighter, and give the hope that we can still make it together. Because after all, the motto for internal audit is sharing is caring. Thank you.
What better way to end our conversation? I cannot thank you enough for being here. I'm truly inspired by listening to you and your story and your experiences. And I can't wait to see the ripple effect that you have on the rest of our audience. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And I am glad that you invited me, and hopefully my story inspires somebody else, and it creates that psychological, emotional, and financial independence. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Inspiring Women in Audit podcast. We'd love for you to stay part of our growing community, so subscribe wherever you're listening. If you're enjoying our content on platforms like iTunes or Spotify, a quick 5-star rating from you would mean the world to us. It's a small action that supports our mission immensely. Don't forget to explore the show notes for various links and join our vibrant community on all our social media platforms. Your interaction and support play a crucial role in amplifying the voices of inspiring women in audit and spreading their inspiring stories even further. Thank you for being a part of our journey, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Inspiring Women in Audit podcast.